Hey guys, it's Steve here again, and I want to talk about the figure 18 million because when I heard this figure this week and what it represented, it both saddened me and angered me. And to be honest, I hope it angers you as well. Not to the point where you actually physically hurt anyone, but that you would, I don't know, somehow take action, somehow get involved, be an advocate, do what I'm doing here, advocate for this, for the end of this atrocity. And of course, as I'm talking about this, I want you to do something for me. So go in the comment section and let me know what you think. Let me know what you've heard. Let me know what facts you've seen or what information you've studied in the past. If you've done any research on this, just go in the comment section and let's engage about this topic. So to give you some context, I have a friend. So I was at this event this week. It's a weekly event that I go to, and this week they decided to invite this guy in to share what he's doing. Now, I know this guy, we're good friends, we meet periodically for coffee, things like that. But he was telling the group about 18 million people in India who are slaves, modern day slaves in 2025. And he was talking about the organization that he works with and the work they're doing to try and set as many of them free as possible. And one of the things I learned this week from him, and just so you know, hopefully in a few months, I'm going to interview him. Now, right now he's traveling, so I can't get to him, but he's going to come back, and we live near each other, so I'm hoping to be able to interview him. He's already agreed to it, and we're going to do a deep dive into this reality of slavery in India, but also in other places. But as it relates to this subject and India today, one of the things I learned as he was sharing with our group on Thursday morning was that India is home to the largest number of slaves in the world in a single country. In fact, I was able to verify that through other websites online that fight human trafficking and seek to free people from modern day slavery. And he went on to say that if you were to go to other countries in the world who also have a problem with slavery, because it's also happening in Pakistan, there's things in Nepal that are going on, and there's other countries around the world where this is a reality, that none of them begin to compare in terms of sheer numbers with what is taking place and what is a reality in India. Now, sadly, some people say, well, why are these kids in slavery? Well, sadly, it oftentimes is because of the financial hardships of the family. They come from such poor families and deep poverty that, either there is a medical crisis or some kind of crisis that just impacted them financially. And to be able to get out of that crisis, they took a loan. Now, in many of these cases, when they take a loan, they don't understand the terms of the loan. In some places, the terms could be 25% compounding interest, on the loan. And so when they come back, 6 months later, and they've got 6 months to pay it, as an example that he gave me, that in those 6 months, let's say they take out $1,000 worth of loans, and they come back 6 months later with $1,000 to pay it off, they're not realizing that $1,000 doesn't actually pay off the loan. That was just the principal of the loan. They don't understand the compounding interest. And when the compounding interest is at 25%, that makes the loan pretty high at that point. And then it becomes impossible for them to pay it back. And so because it's impossible for them to pay it back, the alternative is these companies basically take their children from them and force them into this bondage slave environment. And the reality is they could be working for years and their loan doesn't actually move. The needle on the loan doesn't move and they can't pay it back. And in some cases, they've seen where people have been in this type of bondage for decades because the owners or the people who gave the loans aren't disclosing the terms transparently, or they've created such terms that it's impossible for them to pay back. In fact, there was a story that he was sharing that in one place where people were enslaved under these circumstances, even the piece of bread and the water or the food that they got each day was charged back to the employer, or basically, the slave had to pay for it. Well, they didn't have the money to pay for it, so then they put it on top of the loan. And then, of course, the principal goes up, the compounding interest continues. And again, it's just a never-ending cycle of debt that they can't get out of, that these vultures, that's really what they are, vultures, know very well that they're going to be able to keep them. Now, here's the problem. From what I understand, from what my friend says, and from what I've read online, this type of bondage servant, bonded, I forget the term of it, bondage slavery in India is actually illegal. Yet there are 18 million people under this form of slavery in India right now. So that begs the question, what are officials doing? I don't know. I'm sure there are government officials in India who are fighting against these crimes. I'm sure there are. There's always somebody doing something. But if there's 18 million people living in this sort of bondage in India, in this form of slavery, modern day slavery, then clearly not enough is being done, and many officials are probably turning a blind eye to it. But with that said, there is a group of people in India who is not turning a blind eye. It's an incredible group of people that is stepping up and fighting against this form of slavery and working tirelessly to free these people from this barbaric lifestyle they've been forced into. And you want to know who it is? Indian Christians. Now, I'm not saying every Indian Christian is doing something, but there are Indian Christians across India working tirelessly to free them, to set them free. You know, when most people think of India, they think of Hinduism because the majority of India are Hindus, okay? The vast majority of Indians are Hindu. But what most people don't realize is that Christians have been in India since basically the very beginning of Christianity. So since just after Jesus walked this earth, you know, Thomas went to India and basically took the church and the power of the gospel to India, and the church was formed in India, and it has existed in India ever since without any disruption. But another reality, because Christians in India are a minority, there are groups within Hinduism, radical groups, that seek to persecute them. Okay, in the past couple of years, persecution against Christians and even Muslims has been on the rise. It has increased. In fact, just recently, there was a Hindu nationalist, a radical guy that is in one state of India that according to reports I've read, different articles I read online, and according to a Christian leader in India, he was calling on Hindus in a specific state to target 3 or 4 specific villages, which were predominantly Christian, and to go in there and kill the Christians and rape the women. So I only mention that to mention that persecution on the rise. Now, how does that relate to the whole thing with slavery? Well, Christians are facing a lot of problems in India, and the problems are increasing. But despite the problems, Christians in India are very resilient people. Okay, now in their resiliency, they see problems. So part of their problems is they're seeing slavery, and some of them are stepping up to the plate, and they are going after the places where they're enslaving children. But while they're doing that, they are working tirelessly, like I said before, to set them free, to do everything they can to rescue them, to get them basically out of the hellhole. And you know what else is incredible with these churches and the Christians that are involved in this work? The church is connected to them. When the kids are set free, it's just not, hey, set free and just let them go and just, hey, good luck with you. They're not doing that. They're actually taking care of them. They're bringing them into a place to get them renourished, because they're extremely malnourished in these places that they're being held as slaves. So they're bringing nourishment, proteins, and other things into their body to help their body recover physically. They're bringing them emotional help, you know, emotional therapy and things, counseling, whatever is needed to help their mental health. And in some cases, when they're able to track and find the families of these kids, they're actually able to reunite them with the families and cut away the debt. And for those that they can't reunite as families, there's actually places in India where they're bringing in these children who were set free, again, where they can't find families to reunite them with, and providing an education for them and caring for them and getting them to a place in life when they become adults where they can actually go out, make a living, take care of themselves, and not be a slave. So yes, slavery is a horrific problem in India. But there are Christians, praise God, Christians stepping up to the plate. So instead of now, on one hand, the government needs to do more, no question about it. That is their responsibility to protect their citizens. But the Christians that are involved, they're not waiting for the government. They're taking action. They're getting involved. And they're risking their life to save these kids and to set them free. So thank you for watching this video. And like I said earlier, share your thoughts in the comment section. Now, if you found value in this video, I want you to do 2 things for me. The first thing, like the video. The second thing, share it. Point it to people so they can learn about what is happening in India with these children and the slavery that is taking place, but also about what the church in India is doing to set them free. And while you're at it, why don't you subscribe to my channel? Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.